The permission revolution, how Black women are redefining strength through softness. Have you ever noticed how we glorify the grind? How we celebrate exhaustion like it's some kind of achievement? I'll sleep when I'm dead used to be my favorite phrase until I realized I was halfway there. When I had the privilege of interviewing Jacinda Phillips, the visionary behind transformative spaces for Black women professionals, something she said stopped me in my tracks. The most revolutionary act a Black woman can commit in today's world is to grant herself permission to thrive, not just survive. Jacinda isn't just creating programs, she's engineering a cultural revolution. Her work has touched thousands of Black women across corporate America, entrepreneurship, and academia. She's the architect behind healing spaces that have literally saved lives, spaces where Black women can finally exhale, where they can remove the mask without fear of judgment. Her insights aren't just powerful, they're paradigm shifting, and they form the backbone of what I'm sharing today. The truth is, we've been sold a dangerous myth, the myth that strength means never breaking, never pausing, never admitting we're drowning. And nobody has bought into this myth more completely than Black women. I want to talk about what happens when we finally put down that cape, when we stop being the mule of the world, when we embrace what Jacinda calls the radical act of softness. Let me tell you about Brandy Ward. Brandy was the epitome of hustle culture. Wake up at 5 a.m., work until midnight, repeat. She built her business this way, grinding herself into dust while smiling through the exhaustion. Her family had taught her this was the only way to succeed as a Black woman entrepreneur. Work twice as hard, never complain, never rest. I thought my worth was tied to my output, she shared on the Soft Girl Era podcast. If I wasn't constantly producing, constantly available, constantly sacrificing, then I wasn't valuable. Sound familiar? I see those nods. But here's where Brandy's story takes a turn that changed everything. After years of this punishing routine, her body finally staged a revolt. Migraines, insomnia, anxiety attacks that left her gasping for air in bathroom stalls between client meetings. The breaking point came when she found herself unable to remember her nephew's birthday, the same nephew she'd helped raise. That's when Brandia realized something profound. She had become so disconnected from herself that she was losing touch with what actually mattered. I had to ask myself a terrifying question. Brandy said, who am I when I'm not working, when I'm not achieving, when I'm not being strong for everyone else? This question, this moment of radical self reflection changed everything. Brandy began the uncomfortable work of reconnecting with herself. She sought out communities where vulnerability wasn't seen as weakness, but as courage, where Black women could exhale together, where they could admit they were tired without someone immediately offering solutions, or worse, reminding them how much stronger their grandmothers had it. Today, Brandy's business is more successful than ever, but it's built on a foundation of authenticity rather than hustle. She schedules rest with the same dedication she once reserved for client calls. She's become an advocate for other Black women entrepreneurs, showing them that sustainability isn't just a nice to have, it's essential. But this journey to self reclamation isn't just for entrepreneurs, it's for every Black woman who's ever dimmed her light to make others comfortable. Which brings me to Walanza Hall. Walanza was a rising star in corporate America, the kind of leader who got things done, period. But beneath her polished exterior was a revolutionary idea she couldn't shake. What if emotional intelligence was actually the most powerful business strategy? In environments dominated by grind mentality, Walanza began advocating for something radical: softness. Not weakness, softness, the strength that comes from being fully human at work. I started small, she explained. 5-minute mindfulness sessions before team meetings, creating space for people to acknowledge when they were struggling instead of pretending everything was fine. Her colleagues thought she had lost her mind. Her superiors warned her about maintaining professional standards. But Walanza persisted. The results? Her team's productivity skyrocketed. Retention rates improved. People weren't burning out at the alarming rates they once were. They felt seen beyond their output metrics. When people feel human at work, Walanza said, they bring their full creativity, their full innovation, their full power. Walanza's approach has since been recognized industry wide. She's pioneered company initiatives focused on well being that have been adopted across organizations, all because she refused to abandon compassion even under pressure. This is what Jacinda Phillips calls pumping your struggle, transforming challenges into fuel for growth and leadership. Not letting obstacles define you, but using them to create something new. But here's the thing about transformation: it requires boundaries. And setting boundaries is perhaps the most difficult skill for women who've been conditioned to accommodate everyone else's needs before their own. This brings us to Suzette Samuel. Suzette was the go to person in her organization. Need something done? Ask Suzette. Crisis to manage? Suzette will handle it. Late night email? Suzette will respond within minutes. I thought being indispensable meant being constantly available, she shared. I didn't realize I was teaching everyone around me that my time, my energy, and my boundaries didn't matter. The breaking point came when Suzette watched three colleagues, all Black women, leave the company within months of each other. All cited the same reason: exhaustion, the extra burden of representation, the constant code switching, the unspoken expectation to be twice as good while making it look effortless. Suzette realized she was on the same path. So she made a decision that terrified her. She started saying no. No to meetings that could be emails, no to taking on projects outside her job description without compensation, no to being the default emotional support for colleagues who didn't reciprocate. The first time I declined a project, I was physically nauseous, Suzette admitted. I was convinced I'd be labeled difficult, that I'd lose everything I'd worked for. Instead, something unexpected happened. People respected her more. Her clarity about what she could and couldn't take on made her more effective, not less. And most importantly, she found herself with something she hadn't experienced in years: energy, space to think, room to breathe. Suzette has since led workshops teaching boundary setting skills across multiple organizations. She's published resources used widely throughout professional networks, serving minority talent pipelines. She's helping normalize conversations around emotional boundaries in industries previously hostile to such topics. These three women, Brandy, Walanza, and Suzette, embody what Jacinda Phillips identifies as the three pillars of transformation for Black women professionals. First, embracing your authentic self, knowing who you are beyond the roles you play and the expectations placed upon you. Second, transforming struggle into strength, not by denying difficulty, but by pumping it, using it as fuel for innovation and leadership. And third, granting yourself permission to dream and thrive, not waiting for external validation before pursuing what you truly desire. These aren't just nice ideas, they're survival strategies in the world that still expects Black women to be everything to everyone while asking for nothing in return. So, what does this mean for you? How do we take these stories and turn them into action? I want you to try something right now. Close your eyes for a moment. Think about one area of your life where you've been waiting for someone else's approval or permission. Maybe it's pursuing a career change. Maybe it's setting a boundary with family. Maybe it's simply allowing yourself to rest without guilt. Now imagine writing yourself a permission slip. What would it say? I give myself permission to. This isn't just a mental exercise. This is the beginning of reclaiming your power. Next, I want you to consider a recent challenge you faced, something that felt like an obstacle. How might you pump this struggle? How could it become fuel rather than a roadblock? Brandy had turned her burnout into a business model that helps other entrepreneurs avoid the same fate. Walanza transformed resistance to emotional intelligence into a leadership philosophy that's changing corporate culture. Suzette used her experience with boundary violations to create resources that protect others. What will you do with your struggle? Finally, I encourage you to schedule time this week, even just 30 minutes, dedicated solely to reconnecting with your authentic voice. Journal, meditate, sit in silence. Ask yourself what you truly want, not what you've been conditioned to pursue. As Jacinda Phillips so powerfully stated, the journey to fulfillment begins with deep self awareness. When Black women root themselves in their identity, they're better equipped to face adversity, make aligned decisions, and build lives that reflect their true values. The world will always have expectations of you. It will always have opinions about how you should move through space, how you should speak, how ambitious you should be, how much you should sacrifice. But here's what I know for sure: the permission you've been waiting for, it can only come from one person. And she's been inside you all along, waiting for you to finally hear her whisper. It's okay to be soft in a world that taught you survival. It's okay to rest. It's okay to thrive. It's okay to be gloriously, unapologetically you. That whisper isn't just for you, it's for your daughters, your nieces, your mentees, your colleagues. Every time you grant yourself permission to be human, to be soft, to set boundaries, to rest, you create a ripple effect that touches lives you may never even meet. This is bigger than self care. This is cultural revolution. This is what Jacinda Phillips calls ancestral healing in real time. Because when one Black woman decides she deserves to thrive, not just survive, she doesn't just change her own life, she begins to heal generations of trauma. So I'm not asking you to just take better care of yourself. I'm asking you to join a revolution of permission, a revolution of softness, a revolution that says our humanity is not negotiable. Are you ready to put down the cape? Are you ready to grant yourself the permission slip you've been waiting for? Are you ready to transform your struggle into your strength? The revolution is waiting, and it begins with you today, right now, in this moment. The permission is yours. Take it.